Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, Bruce Dickinson here from Iron Maiden. Yes, indeed, Miss Whiplash herself, Mistress Carrie, is here to unchain your brain.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 254 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. Davyd and Tom from Bury Tomorrow are touring across North America and stopped at a brewery in Denver, Colorado, so that they could come on the Mistress Carrie podcast. The band is getting ready to release their new album, Will You Haunt Me, with that same patience, that comes out on May 16th. We talked everything from American football to K-pop to Black Sabbath and Ozzy, and of course, their new album. So, allow me to introduce you to Davyd and Tom from Bury Tomorrow. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
No worries. Thank you. I'm Davyd, and this is Tom. Yeah.
So, Davyd, not David. I'm Americanizing you.
Davyd, not David.
Yes, I'm butchering your name right now.
No, David's absolutely perfect. That's my name.
Nice to meet you guys. The first question I always ask is, where the hell are you? Because traveling rock bands never know where they are half the time. Do you know where you are?
We know exactly where we are today. We're in Denver, Colorado. We're at a bar called Our Mutual Friend Brewing Company. We're having a beer and doing a podcast. I mean, doesn't really get much better than that.
I was wondering why you were wearing a Broncos hat.
Yeah, we've just been to visit the Broncos Stadium, so
I wanted some merch.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, American football, while it's becoming more popular in Europe, is still not the psychotic religion that it is here in the United States. So seeing British bands wearing American football gear is not normal.
Well, I'm a big Panthers fan, so I've got Panthers jerseys to boot at home.
I'm in Boston, so this is Patriot country here, so I'm gonna just let that slide.
We'll let it off.
That's fine. My other hat is a Boston.
Yeah, his other one's a Boston Red Sox hat, so you should have worn that one.
Yeah, you should have. That would have been fantastic.
I think every single one of us. I've got a Bruins hat because I do like Bruins. So
it is a Boston thing that we are psychotic about trying to get you to join our cult.
I mean, I'm in.
Yeah, we're in.
I think Boston is one of our favorite places to play, to be fair.
The rock scene in Boston and just New England in general is a whole other level of like passionate and knowledgeable. When we love you, you almost need a restraining order against us.
I think that's most of America currently for us, isn't it? Like we're playing smaller shows, but like the vitriol of positivity from the fans has been unbelievable, unlike anywhere else we've been, really.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
It's one of those things where if you love us, we love you. And I think with rock, and I'll ask you guys if you think this is true, I think with rock and metal, more so than any other genre, there's this possibility of longevity of career, that once we love you forever.
That is. Yeah, go.
No, you go for it.
No, we're trying to get to that. That's like, it feels like a new journey for us. Like the UK and Europe has been amazing to us, and to get to come out here like four times in 3 years.
4 times in 3 years.
Yeah, and to just keep that momentum and building, like it's a really, really cool experience for us to do. So we're on the journey to it.
But even from a fan perspective, because you obviously grew up loving music, those bands that you grow up loving, it's impossible to not love them forever, right?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's probably the only reason why people stop loving bands in our genre now is if they've done something a bit gnarly, in it. So other than that, yeah, you love the bands that you loved when you grew up. I mean, I'm still listening to On Earth, and God knows how long it is since I first heard On Earth. So, I can't really complain, or I just hope that some of that rubs off on us. It would be really nice if we became one of those bands that people listen to in 20, 30 years.
I have a theory about music that there's two eras of your musical upbringing. There's the early era, which is the soundtrack to your childhood, the music you get exposed to unwillingly because of your parents or your cool uncle or your older siblings. And then you hear something and you make the decision, I love this. And then moving forward, everything's different. So what was the soundtrack to your childhoods? And then what was it that you heard that you made the decision and go, oh, no, hold on, I like this?
You go first. Go first.
So my childhood was Eagles, Bob Dylan, Metallica, ABBA, and Michael Jackson.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think mine were things like ELO, Depeche Mode, Smiths, and then on my mum's side was stuff like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and probably Eagles as well. But yeah, so my dad was really into 80s electronic music, and my mum was really into early rock and metal. So, Leonard Skinner. My mum used to listen to Leonard Skinner.
There was some Genesis in there as well.
Yeah.
Me, so.
And then the songs that kind of got me into what I listen to now is, I always talk about probably AFI being the first band that I was like, I remember hearing Days of the Phoenix and was like, this is incredible. And then I started listening to things like Tsunami Bomb, Mogwai, Explosions in the Sky, that sort of thing, real math rock and hardcore. I used to listen to Fugazi and stuff like that. And then later on after that, it was stuff like Papa Roach. I remember hearing that Infest record for the first time and thinking, holy shit. I remember when I first heard, because I was into hardcore a lot more when I was younger, in my early teens. But then when I was 16, maybe a bit older, maybe 18, I heard Infest and I was like, I really want to be in a band. I just want to be in a band now. So yeah, I went from there, really.
So Papa Roach is definitely one for me as well. I remember being 14 on the way to the East Coast, and I had a mini disc player, and I had Infest, I had Wisconsin Death Trip by Static X, and I had Hybrid Theory. But I think outside of that, it was bands like Alkaline Trio, Rise Against, Propaganda.
Yeah,
Alkaline Trio and Rise Against when I got
huge,
yeah. So that was the stuff I heard. I'm like, I didn't even know you could do this. This is sick.
Unwittingly, we both have had pretty much the same musical growing up.
Yeah.
And now I listen to a shit ton of K-pop.
I have not gotten to the point where I can kind of wrap my brain around K-pop. I've missed the boat somehow. I don't know how to catch up. It begins and ends with Psy with me.
The best way to describe it is, no. It goes so much deeper than that. K-pop is one of these genres that is I've said this to Tom so many times. I genuinely think it's the last bastion of creative pop music. You look at Western pop music and it is apart from people like Gaga, who big up Gaga, love you forever, will always be up there with the greatest artists of all time for me. But K-pop is experimental. K-pop is different. The melodies that come out of them aren't the same melodies you've heard 4,000 times. And I genuinely have started hearing artists like Tate McRae and stuff like that using melody kind of formats that I know are directly influenced by K-pop. Because I've been listening to things like ITZY and Stray Kids for absolutely years. So I genuinely think that K-pop is the last creative form of music.
Or it could be the start of a new wave.
The new wave.
Creative.
Well, that's what they reckon. That's what hyperpop is based on, don't they? It's hyperpop and hyper rock. So some of that crazier Bring Me the Horizon stuff, things like Pale Dusk, a lot of Charlie XCX, all of that is influenced by that. Forget ABAB structure and just do whatever you want and make it creative. And I kind of love that.
it seems like right now in music, and it used to be this way a long time ago, especially in radio, that radio stations would play kind of anything. And then radio for a long time got really siloed with formats, very specific formats, especially in rock, between active rock and metal and alternative and whatever. And I feel like we're in this part of music, especially with features on each other's songs, that those silos are coming down and the lines between the genres are blurring kind of the way that it used to be.
Yeah, I think 100%. And I think that it's, especially like seems like metalcore, in the metalcore scene now, there's so much diversity in the sound and people are pushing boundaries, mixing it with other genres. And I think as long as it's an attitude that if the song is good, it's like sick. We'll love it because it's good. And that open-mindedness that maybe wasn't always there in a lot of the heavy music scenes. It does feel like, exactly like you said, the silos are coming down and we're just having this age of, if it's good music, we're in, which is beautiful. It's how it should be, I think. And you get so much new creative stuff from doing that.
I was joking on the air recently about how rock and roll needed to bring back saxophone solos because it was so big in the 80s.
And then Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And then Sleep Token comes out and there's like a freaking sax solo on the new song. And I'm like, what? So I guess what's old is new again.
Yeah, because back in it, that Bill Murray album.
Yeah, the Bill Murray album has got so much sax on it.
Yeah. That thing is genius.
It's so funny that you just mentioned mini discs because my bonus son is 16 years old and had never seen an 8-track, had never seen a cassette, had never seen a mini disc. And because I've been in radio and stuff for so long that I have all of this stuff and still have the working machines here in my studio. So just yesterday, I was trying to explain to him how mini discs work. And I was like, you know what? Out of all of the forms of media besides actual digital files, mini disc was kind of my favorite. It was awesome.
Mini disc should have taken off, and it wasn't for MP3s. I think mini disc really would have taken off.
The audio quality is great. Yeah, it's awesome. We've been talking a lot about Papa Roach and Fest because it turns 25 this year. And when I talked to the
horrible for me to hear.
When I talked to the guys and said, you realize that an album turning 25, your debut album, qualifies you for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that qualifies you for the label Classic Rock. And Jerry Horton was like, please stop talking.
I genuinely think that I would champion Papa Roach being put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think that they changed a generation of music. I don't think Papa Roach get as much credit because you've got your Limp Bizkits and your Korn and Linkin Park. Obviously, when people talk about how new metal completely changed everything, those are the bands that most people talk about, maybe like the big three. But honestly, I think Papa Roach, for metalcore in particular, I think that the music of Papa Roach opened the door to create metalcore. I don't think you would have had bands as popular like Atreyu and stuff like that if it wasn't for Papa Roach. I don't think, us, we're a really good example. Our band would have not had that gateway into wanting to write metalcore. We never wanted to write new metal, but there are elements of like the singing and the rap and the rock that we're like, well, that's pretty much hardcore. It just needs, if you'd have put a breakdown, like, let's be honest, you put a breakdown in Last Resort, like, it pretty much was an early 2000s metalcore song, let's be honest.
Well, I bring it up because obviously all of those artists, Linkin Park turns 25 this year, Disturbed turns 25, Papa Roach turns 25, and a couple weeks ago, Dave Mustaine from Megadeth was kind of taking shots at nu metal a little bit. And then you hear from Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach, who's like, I couldn't be happier that kind of the new metal genre is having this renaissance and this resurgence. I was on the radio when all of that kind of mid 90s to the late 90s and early 2000s, when that shift happened. And there were a lot of naysayers that new metal didn't bring anything new, that it wasn't going to stick around, that it had no longevity. And I say all of this because you guys are talking about those albums inspiring you. And so to me, if a genre of music helped to launch new genres in the future, then it absolutely is necessary and worthy and something that needs to be recognized as important as it is. And it's exactly what you're saying.
And you know what I find really ironic and interesting is that we are a band that is now 20 years old ourselves. Yeah. And what I find really interesting is when we started metalcore, everyone was like, metalcore's dead, metalcore's derivative, metalcore is never going to stick around forever. This is when bands like, so we were on the coattails of things like Killswitch Engage and Shadows Fall and Atreyu and Still Remains. And we were like, well, we just want to be like those bands. But as we started, became that real deathcore era. So we just started a band because we wanted to make metalcore music, and deathcore was like all the rage. So I think that's what formulated our sound even more, because the only bands that we could play with in England and Europe were no one wanted to be a metalcore band anymore. So we were always like the kind of like prep boys on every tour. So we'd be either on really hardcore shows like Terror, or we'd be on things like Bury Your Dead and stuff like that, or we'd be on things like Impending Doom, Ignom Incarcerations and stuff like that. And we'd just be like, well, okay, but this is where we are then. Like, and so our sound got heavier and heavier from what I would say was originally metalcore, because we started writing breakdowns so that when we actually did play these shows, and we were kind of like, okay, cool, like we play a lot of hardcore shows, so there's a lot of hardcore influence in our music, and then we play a lot of, you know, doom shows and like and kind of slam shows. So we started playing a lot with Hatebreed as well. That's how we met Jasta. And like, so you can hear the influence of Jasta on ours. So when it got round to like, I was doing Earthbound and Jasta was like, hey, can I jump on a track? And we were like, well, fuck yeah. Like, we've been hanging out with you like at festivals and like doing it. But that was really cool for me, because that was like the first time I can really think that it felt like that scene, the hardcore scene, and the kind of like that kind of accepted us as well. Like we were one of theirs as well as being a metalcore band. So, but that took 10, 15 years, to be fair. I'm just hoping that we have inspired kids. That's all I can hope, that we've been a band for 20 years. And I hope that there's a band that's now 10 years old that wouldn't be a band now if it weren't for Bury Tomorrow. That'd be sick.
Well, the bands that you were just listing, bands like Shadows Fall and Killswitch Engage, to go back to what I was talking about, those guys are still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
That once you're loved in rock and metal, you can go. I mean, look, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards never in a million years, if you put a gun to their heads, would have told them, like, you're going to be touring in your 80s and winning Grammys. They would have been like, we're not even going to be alive. But these bands are still... They're not just around, they're making amazing music and touring and sound great. Like, we're in this unbelievable point in music, especially in rock and metal, where all of these new amazing bands are coming up, but all the older bands are still around and still good.
Well, that's good for us, because that means that there's still hope for us to do a Killswitch. I'd love that. Or a Papa Roach tour. Can we do the 25th anniversary Infest World Tour? I'd be so. If you speak to Jacoby, tell him that Bury Tomorrow will definitely, open every day of that tour. Every day.
He's due to come back on the show. The Rise of the Roach Tour with Rise Against is coming to town. There's a few dates going through New England, so he's due to come on the show. So I will pass that along.
Can you just tell him from me and Tom that we are the biggest fans in the world? And please, please never stop making music, because we saw them last year, didn't we, on the festival run?
One of the best live bands I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Unreal.
And they still got it. They still got everything about it. And they're just badass. And yeah, we love them.
Jacoby's one of those guys that ages in reverse.
Yeah.
He's like Benjamin Button that way, especially like once he like got sober and really was like, no, we're doing this. We're taking it serious. He looks better than he ever has. He has better stamina than he's ever had. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, his voice has been impeccable every time I've seen him. Like, impeccable.
I wanted to talk to you guys about whether or not you come from musical families, because one of the other things that I notice when I interview bands is that there's always the argument about genes versus environment. Did you come from a musical family genetically, or was it just encouraged that you be musical around the house? Where did it come from?
My mom and dad have always been into music. My mom can sing, but isn't a musician, and my dad can play guitar, but isn't a musician. But what's really interesting is like my brother's in the band, so my brother's the front man. So for me, it's like I guess it was almost like that rivalry of wanting to be in the band that we always had to sing. Like we were going to go at it separately, and whoever got into the band, whoever was in the band that were like, this is it, this is the one that's going to pop, they would get the other one in, so that one wasn't living the dream without the other. So it was kind of fortuitous that I found Bury Tomorrow and then Dan joined. But yeah, I think that rivalry, we both had an unwavering belief that we were meant to be in bands. I know it sounds really arrogant. I didn't say we were going to be in good bands. I just said that we were going to be in bands. But yeah, I think it does help to have. I don't think it's genes. I think it's want, and I think you can want something so much that even someone like me who doesn't have that much musical talent can still have it, if you know what I mean. But what about you?
It's kind of similar in my house. Like my dad had a guitar, so I kind of always wanted to play growing up, but it was never really pushed on me or necessarily encouraged. My uncle, he's still a musician, but he lived in France for a lot of years, just like doing blues circuits and that kind of thing. So that was quite an inspiring thing to see when he did come back, to see like a legit blues guitarist. But other than that, I just kind of I kind of found it at college. I started on an IT course, and it was the most depressing thing I'd ever done in my life. I lasted a week, and one of my mates that I'd been to school with started drumming at this like first diploma course in Barnsley, and they were like, "It's great. We just played the instruments all day." And I'm like, "I want to do that." So I just quit that. I just went to college and just met all the people that are my friends and are all musicians. And I think being in that environment, really fortunate to be surrounded by so many cool musicians from all over the world, just like cemented my love for it. And there were never really anything beyond that I wanted to do.
I have to quote Geddy Lee. He said once that nobody sets out to play the bass, that you grow up playing guitar, and then you get in a band and somebody has to play bass and you get voted in.
I disagree with this wholeheartedly.
Okay, I have been looking for the exceptions to the rule, because so many bass players are like, yeah, that's kind of what happened.
Never me. I will say right now that a girl came to me at the merch literally yesterday and asked me a question. She's like, I'm a bassist and I want some advice. And I said, the only advice I can give you, because I'm a metalcore bassist, so I play like 4 chords, yeah? But the only advice I can give you is it's not a guitar. And like literally, like if you treat it, it's taken me so long to understand that, but that's the advice I give anyone who wants to play bass. Like, don't try and play it like a guitar, because if you try playing it like a guitar, all that's going to happen is it's just the low end of a guitar. Like, I think the best bassists in the world are the ones that play it like it's a fucking bass. Do you know what I mean?
You're part of a rhythm section.
Yeah.
Like the register and the way that you're locking is totally different.
Yeah. So from my point of view, the best advice you can give anyone who wants to play bass is it's not a guitar, and don't treat it like one.
You guys have 6 members of the band, which to me, the idea, the more band members you add, the more complicated the songwriting process. So how does it start with you guys? Is it a lyric? Is it a riff? Is it a drum beat? Like where does it start? Is it melody?
Probably it's all of the. I'd say all of the above in different scenarios. Like it could be me making like a chorus idea or a lyric or a melody. It could be Dawson with a riff. It could be you like saying, "Oh, I've got these like
Stupid
influences."
voice note.
Yeah, and like a voice note, and then 500 K-pop songs, and it's like, let's do this.
Yeah,
and but
I do remember sending you like I genuinely one of our songs. I can't remember which one is. I sent you.
Let Go.
It's Let Go.
You sent me a K-pop
I
song.
sent him a K-pop song, and I was like, I want to make a song that follows this. Like I called it like a roller coaster, didn't I? Like I wanted to do that, and then that's what Let Go was. Let Go was based on the idea of a K-pop song and structuring a song like you would a K-pop song.
Well, it fixed the chorus.
Yeah,
because for that song, like we had like I think 10 or 15 iterations of this chorus, but nothing were right. And then we got this idea through, and something just clicked, and it just like it created the chorus as just like an influence that would not even have.
Yeah,
so it does. I think if anything, it's done the opposite of complicate the actual creation process, because there's so many different influences coming in.
You can't stagnate.
And our relationship in that process is really cool. And it's like the songs first. And if somebody don't like an idea, we chat about it. If the song is king, and we try to leave our egos out of it.
Service the song, not the band. Because we never want to be one of those bands where it's like, oh, we know that you as fans fucking hate this record, but we wrote it for us, so chin up and get on with it. We don't want to be one of those bands. We want to write songs that are different for us and write songs that are more creative for us. But ultimately, like, if the song ain't good, it don't matter if you're doing it just because it's like, you want to do it. It's still a shit song, isn't it? So just do a good song first, and then worry about how you're going to make it different.
The idea of setting the egos aside is a concept that comes up all the time on the show, because as someone that is lucky enough to be surrounded by creative musicians but has zero musical ability myself, that idea of like pouring so much of yourself into an idea and then taking it into a room and everybody going, now that sucks, I wouldn't recover from that. And you guys do it every day.
It definitely doesn't. I don't think it ever feels nice. But
but the one thing I would say is, one thing that I think we're really good with in our band is there will always be elements of every idea that are incorporated. Like there's, not to be cliche, but there's always a silver lining in every demo. Like every demo has stuff like, and we've got demos and demos of songs that never ever became songs, but are like Frankenstein's monster into new songs that did make it onto albums. So like without writing those, to coin what you said, bad ideas, we wouldn't have ever have had the framework or the ideas to kind of mash things together. And I think that for us, we've always written this way. And before we kind of got into the world of production, one way that we used to write was really weird. So someone would have like a verse and a chorus idea, yeah? And we'd play it over and over again. And then we'd like, after it'd be like, what do we think, like, what do we feel like it needs next? Like, so like, if we naturally started playing a breakdown, or we started playing like a mid-late ambient part or something like that, then that's naturally where the song wanted to go. Like we had no way. That's how we wrote Portraits. That's how we wrote Union of Crowns. We wrote it by like being in the studio and being like, okay, well, it wants to do this. What should we do? It wants to repeat this section again. So we kind of let the songs write themselves. And now that we do production, I think that we do the same, but we use it like Lego now. So like, these are all the demo ideas. What does it want to do next? Oh, it wants to do this in this key. Okay, well, we've got a bit like that does that. Let's put that in. Oh, no, that doesn't work. It doesn't feel right for that. And I think that's kind of, we've kept that ethos of like letting the song decide what it needs rather than what we want it to do.
I've been saying for a while that this year feels like one of those years that decades from now we'll look back on and go, look at all of the amazing music that came out that year. Because everybody's got records coming out this year and they're all amazing. You guys on that list, the new album comes out May 16th. Is the pressure of naming a new album like naming a kid? It seems like this monumental decision. Tell me how you came up with the album name.
So it kind of came from, this is really weird. Like, so it came from, I'm obsessed with art. It's my favorite thing in the world. Yeah. And I kind of fell in love with this artist that kind of depicts abstract versions of like everyday life and modern loneliness and kind of the idea of being alone in a room full of people, like this idea, and he visualizes it. So I wanted to make something that looked like that, and some of Tom and Dan's lyrics, like in Villainark and Let Go and a couple of the early demos, kind of echoed a lot of that kind of like the idea of like the best way to describe it is, have you ever been in a relationship where you are together, but you both feel like ghosts in your own home, like where you're just like kind of like metaphysically moving and haunting each other's lives, even though you don't actually like connect, the presence is always there. And so that's kind of, I think those ideas were just floating around, and that's kind of where it developed from. It's kind of right, isn't it?
Yeah. Said very well.
Thank you.
One of the big stories of 2025, besides all of the amazing albums and tours, because literally everybody's out on the road right now. Like, I don't think there's a truck or a tour bus that anyone can track down to go out on the road if they tried, because there's so many tours out there. But one of the biggest music stories of the year is going to be obviously the last Black Sabbath and Ozzy gig in Birmingham coming up on July 3rd, I believe. Oh, no, July 5th, coming up on July 5th. So I wanted to talk to you guys about what you think Black Sabbath's impact is, or what you think Ozzy's impact is, because I just don't even know if it's something that can be measured. Can it?
I think the thing is with Ozzy Osbourne is he's a phenomenon more than a musician. Like, and I think that Black Sabbath themselves, like, as I said, my mom was obsessed with Black Sabbath when I was growing up. So, you know, we listened to a lot of Black Sabbath growing up, me and Dan, like inadvertently without trying. So I think it would have been really weird if we'd have gone into music and not had some heavy music related thing. It's really weird because I listen to things like Deep Purple and Black Sabbath and I love it. I listen to stuff like Metallica, and I'm going to get lynched here. And I can understand why so many people love it, but it's not for me. It's like, I didn't grow up with it. It wasn't what kind of got me into heavy music. So I think the thing is with him is he's always been there. We live in a culture in metal where we are the fringe members of society. Yeah. Which is why I think as a whole, we are a lot more accepting of other people that consider themselves to be fringe society. You know, if whichever, you know, characteristic you hold whatsoever, you feel fringe. You know, we're like the X-Men of the fucking normal world.
We're
aren't we?
the land of misfit toys. That's what I call us.
Yeah, exactly. And so Ozzy Osbourne was this incredible spokesperson, right or wrong, for our culture and for our kind of world that I think you're not going to have that same level of impact again. Because I think if someone came out and tried to be that spokesperson for the misfits now, they come across as being really fake because they haven't lived through a time when, you know, now you can set up a rock band and you can be cool right the way fucking through. Like, if you were setting up a rock band in the late 70s, 80s, you were basically assigning yourself to a life of being an outcast, essentially. You can't live it in the same way. And that's what, and not annoys me, but like with new artists that come through that are trying to emulate that kind of classic rock thing, like Youngblood and stuff like that. Like, yes, I do understand where you're coming from. There's a real gap in that music, but what you don't have is it was a risk to be that back in the day. It was a risk to live that life. And then that's why they were so wild and so fucking crazy, because Jesus, you have to get through something to pass the day, didn't you? You know, do you know what I mean? And so that's why I think Ozzy Osbourne's impact won't ever be matched, because nobody can live it again. No one can live through that.
He was authentically himself, and he transcended what you talk about with a fringe, and he's a superstar in his own right. Like, I imagine that his impact on like getting awareness of heavy music can't, like I say, can't be measured. Like the amount of people that he will have introduced to heavier music is ridiculous.
And not only are we talking about trailblazing band Black Sabbath, trailblazing artist Ozzy, but he doesn't get enough credit for the other stuff, like the Ozfest, and for better or worse, being a trailblazer for reality television.
Yeah. But what made that show so good is that there was a reality TV format that had rich people in and normal rich people, you know, your housewives of Los Angeles or whatever. Yeah? The difference is you're throwing Ozzy Osbourne into that world. And it doesn't matter if he's the one that's made all that fucking money. It was odd. It was jarring. He shouldn't have been there. Like, he should not have been in that room. And he was. It's the exact same thing as how I feel like early, like Bam Margera stuff, yeah? Bam Margera, everyone wanted to watch those shows because a skateboarder shouldn't have this much money. It shouldn't be possible to do it. And so therefore, it's a little bit of aspiration because people are like, oh my God, is there money in rock music? But then it was also this part of like, that's what made it entertaining. Sharon Osbourne is this consummate businesswoman that knows exactly what to do at all points and has got the money. But then Ozzy Osbourne's like, fuck me, I did a line of ants like 10 years ago. Like, how the fuck am I in a mansion? Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's what made that show so good. Like,
I don't know if it's the fact that I grew up outside of Boston, but there is something that I love so much about the British accent and the way you guys say things that make, I am such a fan of British humor and just the way that you phrase things, even if you're not even trying to be funny, you're funnier than anyone because of it. What is it like in the reverse? What are the American slangs? What are the things that you hear, especially like you're in Colorado right now, so you're smack dab in the middle of the United States. Culture shock wise, what makes you laugh about America and what do you love about it? Because what us watching you guys makes us laugh. It's got to be the same in reverse.
I don't think America's funny. I don't mean that like you don't, Shane Gillis is funny.
See,
but I don't think America
funny.
Yeah, Shane Gillis is fucking funny. I don't care what anyone says. That guy is well funny. But I think he tells jokes in a British way, personally. Like, I watch a lot of British comedians and the way he's like, it's a very British thing to do. Like, I think he's real funny. I say this a lot to people when they talk to us about America is we go to all over Europe, right? And we go to Australia and stuff like that, yeah? And they are like, pretty much, the culture is, if we go to Australia, it's Britain with sun, yeah? Yeah. If we go to Germany, it's Britain with a German accent. Like, it's the same thing. It's here, it's not fucking British at all. There is nothing British about this place. There's nothing kind of like, I don't know. I get a bigger culture shock coming here than I do going to Japan. Like, genuinely, like, everything is so different. Everything is so big. Everything is so out there. And I think that, but at the same time, there's this warmth and kindness to Americans that almost transcends cynicism. Like, then, because there's not a lot of sarcasm that goes on here.
Which is very alien for British people.
Which is mental. Someone says something to you.
Bostonians are sarcastic.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why I love British humor so much. And maybe it is a little bit of the leftover culture a few centuries later. Yeah. But the sarcasm, that's why people in America and other parts of the country think Bostonians are assholes.
Yeah, and I think they probably think we're assholes, if I'm honest. Like, but like, I think if you asked a bunch of people, they're like, oh, those guys were pricks. But
which is why a lot of the British bands say that they love it when they come to Boston. Maybe it has that little bit of home vibe to it.
We definitely feel at home in Boston.
Yeah.
So that could definitely be it.
And weirdly, in North Carolina as well. I don't know why. I love going to North Carolina. And people there are like so sick. Like, everything about them.
Yeah, we had a great time last time. Very cool.
See, now my husband's a Marine and he's stationed in North Carolina. And when I go there, I feel like an alien just landed on Earth.
I just think it's like the most warm place on earth. I've never met more hospitable people in my life. The most polite people I've ever met in the world are in North Carolina. Like, unbelievable.
It's just so
And that's coming from a
hot.
British person that says thank you and sorry when someone punches me. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry my face hit your fist. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
I just go down there and I melt. It's just too friggin' hot and the bugs are huge. I can't take it.
yeah, I'm not a fan of bugs.
Well,
Take a wood louse. Just, what's your favorite bug?
You guys are
that's
going
it.
out on this big tour, but you're not coming here. I looked at all your dates and you're in the U.S. for a while and then you're gone back to Europe, it looks like, until 2026. So what are the plans? I mean, obviously with a new album coming out, you're kind of committing yourself to being on the road for a while after that. So what are the plans through the rest of this year? And are we going to get you in the Northeast of the United States in 2026?
Our plan is next year is to just, as you say, push the album. We got some things in the works, but we're not really allowed to say anything about it yet. But we tend to favor spring as our kind of US jaunts, don't we? But we would love to. We would love to play some US festivals next year. So
it's something that I feel like America was late to the game on, that the Europeans had so down pat for so long. And I feel like the American festivals are finally as awesome as we always hoped they would be.
The lineups are outrageously good.
Yeah.
Like, I was gutted that we couldn't do Blue Ridge. I know it kind of fell apart, but the day that we were meant to play was just, I've never seen a lineup like it.
Yeah, it's about time we got, because I covet those European festivals. And I'm just like, oh man, they're bucket list trips for me to want to go and be able to experience them. But the ones in the US are finally getting good, like to the point where it's like people are traveling from other parts of the world to come to them, the way that the European festivals had been for so long.
you just have the monopoly though, because the thing is that you can get these insane lineups out here without spending the same money as a European festival to get the amazing artists. That We Were Young festival.
Oh, he's
Jesus Christ.
Oh, the one in Vegas?
That's that's like unlike anything I've ever seen. We'd never get a tour like that in UK.
We actually thought that it was a fake festival.
That is an actual fact. So we were in the bus when the post went up, and when it was saying like this band playing this in full, this band playing this in full, we have like club night posters at home, where it says playing the All of Black Parade in full, and we're like, oh yeah, we thought it was a fake poster, and we were like, how much money did they spend to get Mike in to do like that in full? Like, that's unbelievable.
They're playing Fenway Park, the home of the Red Sox this year, doing that.
Wow.
Which, as a kid growing up outside of Boston, the idea that my chem is playing Fenway Park, like my brain can't handle the convergence of those two opposite things. But it's awesome.
Well, we played, what was mental to us is like bands like Electric Callboy. When we played them, we played a sold out MGM Grand, like right next to there. And I'm like, this is mental. They've blown up in the last 2 years. Like, won't be long before we see them at Fenway.
Yeah.
The next time you're at the MGM at Fenway, go through the loading dock, and there's a door that says restricted. And if you open that door, you're in the middle of the outfield of the actual park.
Which we did.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we should have done that.
Yeah. I only know that because I was there the day that club opened, and one of the Godsmack guys' friends got drunk and ran across the field on opening night. And we were just dying laughing. That's the only reason I know where that door goes, because they don't let anybody near it anymore. But if you're able to get through there, that's where that door goes.
Yes. Hopefully we get to play again soon.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Well, I can't wait till you guys are back in the Northeast. It was so great to talk to you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. Congratulations on the new album. It's going to be a big 2025 for you guys, so I'm so happy for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for taking time to chat with us.
Absolutely. And take that Broncos hat off. We got to get you a Patriots hat.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna wear it for now, though. I just bought it.
Well, the next time you come to Boston, I will have swag ready to go for you.
I look forward to it.
There they are, Davyd and Tom from Bury Tomorrow. The new album, Will You Haunt Me with That Same Patience, is available on May 16th. And you can check out some of Bury Tomorrow's music in this episode's corresponding playlist. I make a playlist for every full-length episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast that's filled with my guest music and all the artists and songs that we referenced in the interview. You'll find it linked in the show notes. You'll also find all the Bury Tomorrow links and all the Mistress Carrie links. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, follow, comment, and subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. New full-length episodes come out every Wednesday, plus every weekday you get the Sit Rep. The Situation Report breaks down all of your rock news, music headlines, and entertainment updates to around 5 minutes. And you never know when we're going to release a bonus episode. Join me live every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern for my weekly streaming video show, Cocktails in the War Room, on my Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and official YouTube channel. And you can always find me on the radio. Get the details on all of that and more at MistressCarrie.com. The Mistress Carrie Podcast, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network.